Hello everyone, welcome back to the garden. It's mid-July of 2022 and today's video is about one of my all-time favorite things from the garden, and that is Swiss chard. This is our chard patch here. You can see it's starting to really come into its own. Usually about midsummer is when this really starts producing. Now you can harvest Swiss chard really at any time. You can harvest it as baby greens or when it gets really large. I like to let it get big because one of my favorite parts of Swiss chard is the stem, so make sure you eat the stem. Don't discard that like you might for some other greens. It's really fantastic. As you can see, it's a pretty plant. Now, how do you grow Swiss chard? It's pretty simple. What I do is I just make some rows in the dirt, sprinkle the seeds, cover them with maybe ½ inch of soil, and that's really it. And then you just let it go. I don't worry about thinning it. As you can see, it's really thick. Thickly sown here. It doesn't bother the plants at all. They're right on top of each other. They just sort of become one giant patch of chard. And what's nice is, as you harvest some, then the smaller plants will grow and fill up the space. So it works out really nicely. It's a nice ornamental crop, extremely healthy. When you harvest it, all you do is just sort of take the outer leaves. That's the best way. So you just sort of clip the outer leaves of one plant, move to the next, kind of just work around your patch and do that. And when you harvest it in that way, the remaining leaves in the center will get large and it'll put out more and more leaves, and you'll be able to harvest all summer long and well into the fall off the same plants. They'll just continue to produce for you. But Swiss chard, tons of vitamins and minerals in it. It has a nice earthy flavor. It's sort of like spinach, but much earthier. And as I mentioned, these stems are fantastic. Not really a lot of pest issues to worry about. Once in a while, you'll get some leaf miner damage. I think I show that later on in the video. But as you can see, there's a lot of advantages in terms of the ornamental nature of chard. It's very colorful. I have just the red and yellow planted, but you can get the rainbow chard where there's pink and white. I just didn't do that this year. I had a bunch of seeds left over. I also prefer the flavor of the yellow and red. You'll find that they do really taste different, just like anything else. Different varieties have different flavors. So these are kind of my favorite in terms of the flavor of them. But Swiss chard couldn't be any easier to grow. You just sort of put the seeds, like I said, in rows. I put the rows maybe a foot apart, and then when they grow together, they just become this giant patch of Swiss chard. And this is probably like 6 feet wide by 4 feet deep. Here's some leaf miner damage. That's really the only thing I've run into with Swiss chard. Minor pest damage. Leaf miners are like bugs that crawl inside the leaf, and so they actually make little tunnels in there, and that's what that is. But you can just cut that part out. You're going to cook it anyway to eat it. Many people, if they try to eat Swiss chard raw, will get like a sore throat. There's an enzyme in there. So it's really a green that's best steamed or at least blanched or sauteed. Make sure you cook it. That's kind of the nice little square there. Got them next to cucumbers and squash. They do like full sun, although you can get away with some shade, like many cooking greens. They have large leaves, so they can get away with a little bit of shade. But they don't fruit, so you can also, for that reason, get away with some shade. But if you put them in full sun, they're going to grow the fastest and the healthiest. And so if you have a really nice sunny spot in your garden, it's a good thing to put there. But Swiss chard is something you should definitely add to your garden. It's worry-free, it's easy. Here's our harvest for tonight. I harvested some of the leaf miner leaves because I'll just trim that part out. But thank you for watching. If you have questions about Swiss chard, please post them in the comment section below. And I hope that you incorporate this delicious and nutritious plant into your next garden.